name is Trinity, and if you are here, you must be here to talk about books, because that's why I'm here, to talk about some books. Today we're going to be doing something quite fun, and that is my husband has chosen my TBR for the end of the year. Now, this doesn't mean that these are all the books I'm going to read by the end of the year. This doesn't mean that these are the only books I'm going to read until I finish them. But it does mean that these are the books that I'm going to try and focus on before we get to the end of December. And I let him pick because I have executive dysfunction, and sometimes I need a little bit of direction. And there are so many books that I want to read. Of course, my TBR cart is sitting here behind me. And yeah, so I will go through the books. He won't come on camera, so I will just tell you the reasons that he gave for choosing these books, and we will proceed. So the first book is going to be no surprise to anybody. He chose this based on author. Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I had intended to read this last month, and I didn't. The main reason for that was I fell into a little bit of a reading slump, and so reading the more in-depth fantasy was starting to be a little difficult for me. And so I wanted to go into this one when I had the mindset of reading more epic fantasy than what I was in the mood for. And so I'm excited to pick this one up. I know Warbreaker is pretty popular, so you guys probably know what it's about. And so I won't get into the details of it. Just know I am excited to read Warbreaker, and I'm kind of sad that I haven't yet. If you guys don't know, I did a full read-along of all of the Brandon Sanderson books this year. And Warbreaker is the one I have left. I didn't like the Stormlight Archive, so I DNF'd The Way of Kings. So that's the only series by him that I haven't read yet of his adult books. The next one was also an author pick. Charlaine Harris, Midnight Crossroad. So I haven't read this series yet, but I am a huge fan of her Sookie Stackhouse series. And if you guys don't know, Sookie Stackhouse is True Blood. So I am obsessed with vampires. We all know this. It's no surprise that the one series I've read of hers is about vampires and the Fae. So I'm excited to read another of hers. She writes urban fantasy. It's been a little bit since I've read urban fantasies, so pumped for this one. Midnight Texas did become a TV show too, and that's what these books are. So last year I read The Midnight Library. It stuck with me. I love it so much. I talked about it so much that it's no surprise my husband chose How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. And this one, I'm not 100% sure exactly what it's about, but the reason I like Matt Haig is because he delves into depression and anxiety, which he actually has, and works through his issues through fiction. And we get to see the product of it. The Midnight Library was like that, and I love it. I love seeing him work through his anxiety and depression via fiction. And I think it's helpful for those of us who do have anxiety and depression to feel heard, to feel seen, to know that we are not the only ones suffering through this. And so I am looking forward to How to Stop Time by Matt Haig just for that reason alone. I do still have The Humans on my TBR as well, and I do plan to tackle that one next year. Now, my husband is a huge fan of Stranger Things, so when he saw this cover, he loved it. He also knows that I love Grady Hendrix and that I am in the mood for some horror, so this was an easy pick for him. I think it's one of the first books he picked up for my TBR, and I'm very excited for this. This was in my spooky season TBR, so I won't talk too much about it, but know that I love Grady Hendrix. He's an awesome writer. Awesome writer. When I went shopping at the buy sell trade, I let my son pick out 2 books for me to read, and my husband asked me, okay, show me the 2 books that Joseph picked out for you, and then he picked from those, and he chose Darlington Woods by Mike Deloso. I've read the first few pages of this while we were at the buy-sell trade and thought, oh my gosh, this is so much up my alley. It's not even funny. It's dark. It's gritty. It's horrific. And I'm down. I am down. This is a thriller, so I don't want to know too much going into it. But it's a thriller that ventures more towards the horror side, so I'm looking forward to it. When he was looking at the books that are on my TBR cart, he chose Mistress of Rome because he figured this would be a break from the fantasy and horror that were already chosen for my TBR that he chose. And I love Kate Quinn's writing, so I'm looking forward to this quite a bit. This is the first of a series. I don't know if it's the series that follows the same main character or if they're companion novels, but historical fiction set in Rome, and I'm down. I'm down. There's not much that I need to know about a book going into it, especially when my buzzwords are there, such as historical fiction, Rome. A movie that me and my husband both enjoy and have watched multiple times was Bird Box. And when he saw this on my TBR card, he was like, "You haven't read this yet?" And I was like, "No, so it's on my TBR card." And he's like, "Well, why haven't you read it yet?" I was like, "Well, I don't know." We watched the movie a couple times. He's like, "Yeah, but you don't watch the movie unless you've read the book." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't know it was a book." So he picked this. This is also on my spooky season TBR video. And this one he chose because of the title. If you guys have been watching for a while, you probably know that I have already picked up this book and started reading it once before, DNF'd it. Not because I didn't like it, but because it was just not what I was in the mood for at the time, and it wasn't working out in my head. Like, I wasn't processing it because it just was not the time for that book. And so I am excited to pick this up again before the end of the year, and hopefully my brain will cooperate when I go to read it again. And he knows that I absolutely love Sherlock Holmes, so no surprise he picked up A Study in Charlotte. He has watched Sherlock with me because I made him, but he really liked it, and he recognized that it was a title from Sherlock. And this is a gender bent Sherlock. We have female Sherlock to deal with here, and I'm very excited for this. And the last book that he picked is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. Also another book that was on my spooky season TBR because I like reading thrillers during this time of year, and he knows that. So we have the book that Meg is going to make me read because I keep watching her videos and she keeps talking about it. All right, that is it for me today. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!